Welcome, everybody. This is the TribaLights Paths to Awakening podcast. Today, David Starhart has been so kind to join me and to become willing to share his life story, some of the experiences he's been through in order to connect with the common human experience, the human conditions that we all go through. We've had many different guests on the show, all having a different kind of journey, and I met David last week and just was really blown away by the amount of love and bliss that David was radiating, just pure joy, and I was very intrigued. So I was excited to have him come here, and he actually was dancing, and he was able to share some of his story with us after the dance on Saturday. So without any further introduction, I think we'll just get right into it. So we'd like to just start off with some simple questions just to give an initial introduction. So could you share with everybody where you were born, what that was like growing up from a young age?
I was born in Long Beach, and I grew up in Huntington. I was athletic, but I always resonated with music. And from the very first Beatles song I ever heard when I was 4 years old was "All You Need Is Love," and it made me so happy. I just listened to it wanted to listen to it over and over again. And I'm still the same. I just want total love and total joy, and the best music and vibrations possible. So when I started awakening in 1987, really, I was experiencing music to such a high degree that my ecstasy was way beyond anything I'd ever experienced before.
Wow.
And I had grown up a Christian, but I knew there was more answers they couldn't give me, although I'd felt the Spirit, and I was reading about how everything that Jesus has done or did, we could also do, and I was interested in finding out if that was really possible. And I got a hold of some books that said, well, if you want to know the truth of God, seek God completely, without giving up before God touches you. So I would pray for long periods of time with all the intensity of my heart, and then eventually the Spirit would bring so much light into my body. It was completely ecstatic and paralyzing, and so much more energy that I'd ever experienced before.
Wow. How old were you?
21.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was it like before you found those books? Was there conflict growing up? Like you said, you were really into sports. What did you experience from a young adult that led to you seeking out this other way of looking through life?
Well, I always knew there was more, and I just wasn't satisfied with nightlife. People would go out drinking all the time, or the other athletes weren't as respectful and loving as I thought I would like everyone to be. So I started looking for God and meditating, really. I read Shirley MacLaine's Out on a Limb book and started to teach myself how to meditate by breathing through my third eye point, and I would get really naturally high. I want to tell you about one of the greatest experiences I ever had. Was I had been praying to have something happen, and I was starting to get sleepy, and I heard my name called from above my head. It was so strong that it was startling, but it woke me up, and I went out and prayed outside in the middle of the night in upstate New York. I walked for miles until I got tired. I woke up after trying to fall asleep cold, and I started using the meditation technique I taught myself to breathe through my third eye, and I pretended like I was walking into heaven, like I was just on my way, and pretty soon I'd be walking and I'd be in heaven. And somehow the right circumstances, because I'd done this several times before, but something happened where my whole brain and body lit up with light, and I was more ecstatic than I'd ever been in my entire life. For about 6 miles I walked, just in total joy and utter ecstasy. It was like a grand awakening experience.
Oh my gosh. So having these kinds of experiences would really integrate for you, and you would be able to really embrace and embody these emotions and ways of feeling.
Yeah, I quit college because I realized after I did a rebirthing session where I stopped breathing for a half hour, and after that I was just done with college. I had to just seek God and find out what this is all about. At the same time, I was reading Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda, and I had been meditating at a place called the Teaching of the Inner Christ, which taught channeling Jesus and other ascended masters, which was new to me. And it's kind of scary for a Christian to believe in anything else but what Christianity teaches, because they teach that it's from the devil. But I could feel the vibration of love coming through the people who are channeling Jesus. And of course, Christians don't think that can be done. But it was absolutely love and absolutely light. And I embraced it wholly and began channeling myself.
Wow. So where, after college, what was your life path then? Did you start traveling?
I started traveling, hitchhiking around. My idea every day was to just surrender to God and not move unless I was moved. Just meditate and meditate. And then all of a sudden I'd be getting up, walking down the street, and run right into someone who I was meant to meet that day, for instance. I went to Grateful Dead shows and found an amazing group of people who were heart open and spiritually aware and dancing their heart out. And so I did that quite a few times. And it's been the most amazing experience. I wanted to say something else about that. My first day on Grateful Dead lot, my heart opened so wide. I was crying with how beautiful all the souls were, that we were all just this wonderful soul family, and everyone's so beautiful. And that's the way I still feel, and I love to look at life like that.
Wow. I definitely felt that when we initially met, and it's really interesting actually, because I was having a conversation with somebody about you, and not like we were gossiping, but just talking about, this way that you are, and it's almost abnormal. Sometimes it can even make somebody uncomfortable because they're just not used to that amount of just pure compassion, love, joy, and it's hard we're in LA right now, in one of the most populated parts of town, and to have such a bright light show up, it's an honor to have met you, and I'm so grateful that you're sharing some of your insights. So I just want to keep focusing on that, honestly, because I feel like you have a lot to share.
What I really want to share with people, one of the most helpful things for me is just doing meditation and desiring and to love God beyond everything else. Like that is my sole desire when I'm doing my right spiritual practice. And this thing I've shared with you of doing open eye meditation, just looking into each other's eyes, open with love, and letting the soul light kind of merge and build each other both up. I want everyone to be able to greet each other for a minute or two of silence and just experiencing each other's beautiful soul.
We'll get lost again if we go there.
Yeah, I was a part of a group of 100 or 200 people that would do this for minutes on end, and I could say my third eye awoke, and my crown opened up, and I was in bliss and experiencing so much more light and energy. And being with that group helped, and doing that over and over and over again, and with the people I shared it with after, helped me to stay in just the light of the soul. in this long journey of enlightenment process, because even though us humans can have wonderful light experiences where the spirit comes down and descends and shows us more of our eternal being, we can still forget and get angry at little things, or forget to see love and be love. But the more we focus on the light and love it, the more we can share with our brothers and sisters.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I struggle with that myself. These big mood swings where I feel like I'm just on top of the world and I'm radiating so much joy and happiness. It feels almost manic. And I think I'm still working through my own issues, especially with diet. I feel like for myself that's been a struggle, and reading some new books and finding out that diet is playing such a larger role than I even expected. I'm starting to make the changes now, but it's still difficult and I still experience those mood swings. Were you able to identify food as a part of the healing?
Yes. But the way I see it is, it's really our mind. If we're in surrender, if we're doing our spiritual practice, whatever that may be, if it's just stillness, I would practice stillness and prayer to the nth degree, to where I would pray for 5, 10, 15 minutes before I even ate a bite of food, and then go back into prayer. That's what really helped me to get control of overeating or desires for just sweets. And that's what I recommend, just to be so on our spiritual practice of prayer and devotion, that with every bite we're like experiencing it like a child, like this is a wonderful life we're having, and an even deeper resolve to like go within till we can feel our spiritual connection tangibly, feel the light tangibly, because then it's much easier to stay in control if we're just relating with the light, and it's a physical, tangible experience to feel the light in our bodies more, and just holding on to that and loving the presence of spirit that is our true nature and life.
Yeah, that's such a great answer. I know through my own experience again that when I am feeling really connected and I'm in constant prayer and just constantly, thanking God for the small things like my breath, and all the things that are happening in my body, and just keeping my focus on that positive aspect of life, I am able to have a lot more control. So I think through this process I've been able to, have a lot more confidence moving forward. And just as we talk, I feel that light that exists when we stay connected to that positive energy or outlook or emotions, whatever you want to call it. But I do know there's a lot of people out there that have so many excuses, time being probably the biggest one. And so what would you say to those people that feel like they just don't have the time?
Well, a really good sister, a sister I love, told me this year, that hurrying to her is a violence. Hurrying is a violence. It's not loving ourselves. It's not freely expressing the love and joy in our true being. Just try this. Just sit still. If you have some kind of not so important time thing going on, just sit still and breathe for moments, a minute, and see if you just naturally come out of it and your spirit will show you, okay, now it's time to go. Mine always has. And we remind ourselves, okay, maybe it's time, We could, of course, just keep sitting there and everything would be okay as well. But I went through a deeper surrender process than most people are willing to. I really decided, well, if I want to be like Jesus, I'm going to have to let go of everything. And I did for some time. I didn't work. And I just sat and prayed all day. And I remember Michael Beckwith walking by me at the Krishna temple almost 20 years ago. And he saw how I was a little tired. I'd been up since 4 praying. And he said something that meant stay strong. And whenever, that's when we really need to do our practice, is when we're not as strong, when we're feeling weak. Then we can turn to food or something else besides attuning to the spirit. But just really desiring the love of God, whatever that means to anyone. You don't have to see God as God. You can, meditate like a Buddhist and have ultimate compassion and love for everyone. But it's always helped me to try to do Jesus' greatest commandment, to love God with all my heart, mind, soul, and strength. Then my body was more fully alive, and I had more super joy and energy. My body became so much more enlivened, and my joy became full until I was just teeming in ecstasy. And now my ecstasy, natural ecstasy level is more than it ever has been, because I dance so much and I give thanks and praise. And I do dervish spinning, where I just spin around, and I'm just naturally high a lot of the time and happy. And it's pretty wonderful. I just want to share with everyone that's what we're supposed to be experiencing here. If we're not experiencing joy, we can change our thoughts and attunement to the spirit until we have a spiritual breakthrough and our body starts really being activated into what it was meant to experience here.
Wow. It's so much. And it's so beautiful. I'm getting a lot from this conversation too. So I myself, it's new for me, honestly, within the last maybe 4 to 5 years. Discovering dance was my first outlet. And I don't want to get too much into my story, but I just really admire you for having that willingness to just fully surrender. And it's inspiring me to seek more and to meditate more and just to have that discipline, because I go through waves, I'll be honest.
Yeah, we all do. We all do, but enlightenment's a real thing, and it's a lifelong process. But you can be feeling much more happy than you have been. Everyone can. And there is so much more light that can come into these bodies. I've experienced lightning bolts of energy rushing through me. It's a very rare experience, but our soul is so powerful. It's my knowledge that we have a higher self who has all power and all light and feeds us our life energy at the top of our heads. And of course we have our life inside our body too, but they kind of meet and merge perfectly. And when I'm meditating, sometimes seems like I feel the hand of a presence, even a being, pushing light into the top of my head. This may be, it may not be, but I do feel light coming in. It's very tangible, and my advice to everyone is to pray every day until this happens. That's what I did. That's what so many masters have taught, to cry out for God with all your soul. Because if you don't really want it, if you don't really want the fullness of God, you're only going to get a little bit and not as much that will make you truly happy and be able to spread the joy we're meant to have here.
Thank you so much, David. You got some great medicine, brother.
Yeah.
And I just want to give some space for you to share about anything that you're currently working on, or if people can find you, if they're interested to maybe seek some counsel. You can share with everybody what it is or how to find you.
Yeah, you can message me on Instagram. I'm David Starhart. I would love to sit one-on-one with you and work on whatever you'd like to work on. And if you're open to doing open eye meditation, open or closed eye, those are my specialties. And I just really want to help you do your own practice and help you strengthen your light. So yeah.
I think that's what's really important, is that we learn our own practice, because we can't rely on people, because it's really up to us to be that change.
Yeah. To me it's a balance between surrender and loving all the way. And we each have to find that balance inside of ourselves. But starting out with surrender is a super good place, because we all know that we can get ahead of ourselves and our energy get a little out of control from our thoughts not being as slowed down and as peaceful as we'd love them to be.
Beautiful. Thank you so much again. Again, this is TribaLights. We have a website, TribaLights.org. You can find this podcast there and all the other podcasts on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe there and get updates on new interviews and also track our progress. This is Veda Yoga Center. This is the new location for our support groups on Wednesday afternoons. We also do ecstatic dance, sound healing, and many other events that are all supporting this nonprofit. So if you want to learn more, please check out the website and stay tuned. Much love, blessings,
Much
namaste.
love. Now try just looking out, no smile.
Whoa. Sorry. Whew.